Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news. And I'm going to start by saying, have we ever had a manager slam a player so publicly as Ruben Amorim did with Marcus Rashford last night? I mean, I would rather use a 63-year-old coach, goalkeeping coach, than effectively Marcus Rashford. And the reason he's not being picked is because he's not working hard in training 6 weeks after I dropped him in a Manchester derby. I mean, this is public. I'll read you the exact quotes in a minute. Absolutely destroying Marcus Rashford's reputation. I mean, look, this is a guy that rightly or wrongly, over the last 8 years, has built brand Rashford around a persona and a positive PR around lots of good things on and off the pitch. And Amorim has just literally, in many ways, and you can interpret it how you like, basically said that he's crap and he doesn't try in training. And look, people will interpret things differently, but I find it incredible. Do I find it incredible to the point that he shouldn't have said it? I think that's up for debate. Do I think he's absolutely disintegrated Player FC forever? Yes. I think whilst Ruben Amorim is in charge, you can forget Player FC, you can forget having a brand, you can forget everything. You're a footballer, and if you're not a footballer, you're nothing. And look, have we not been craving this for a long time? So if there is to be a backlash from United fans or anybody in the media, then I think we must remember that we have absolutely screamed and shouted for the end of Player FC and player power at Man United. And I think we very much have seen it. And I think, yeah, Rashford's probably a bit of a scapegoat. He's probably a bit of a sacrificial lamb. But that's unprecedented. I don't remember a manager of Man United doing that. From a position of strength as well, after a win, to do that. We'll talk about that. We've also got updates on Dorgu, Garnacho, Rasmus, and Nkunku has been linked to us again. Please no. Please no. But look, that still looms. Big shout out to everybody who watched the video this morning about the fans shouting at Sir Jim Radcliffe after the game yesterday, also chanting in the ground yesterday. I think it's fair to say that there is a movement of United fans now who are uniting behind the fact that we're not happy with the Ineos, we're not happy with the Glazers, and I don't think that's up for debate. Why is he treating Rashford like this, says Laurie17? I'd love you to expand on that as to whether you're not happy with it, whether it's right or wrong, but I'll get directly into that to start off with. Don't Ineos and the Glazers get it? We're not a business, we're a family, and Manchester United is everything, says Pamela. Thank you very much, Pamela, one of our members there, and Prince Bot, welcome to Members Club as well. The sacrificial lamb is getting slaughtered, says Glenn C. The sacrificial lamb is a bloody lamb chop at the moment. He's more than slaughtered. He's been absolutely destroyed here. So this is Ruben Amorim after the game yesterday being asked about Marcus Rashford again. I mean, look, to be honest with you, we've just won a game of football. He's probably getting irritated being asked about Marcus Rashford. But this is what he was asked about Rashford and what the future is for him. And he said, look, it's always the same reason. The training, the way I see a footballer should do in life, it's every detail, it's every day. This was when he was asked, was Rashford available? If things don't change, I will not change. It's the same situation for every player. If you do the maximum and the right things, we can use every player. So what he's basically saying is the reason Rashford's not involved, and let's not forget, Casemiro doesn't get used, but he is on the bench. So you can assume that Casemiro is training well. Anthony was on the bench on Thursday and is now on loan at Betis. So Amorim's not the sort of guy that even if you're leaving, he won't use you. And the contradiction, there is no contradiction. Casemiro doesn't get used. He doesn't want Casemiro, but he still puts him on the bench because Casemiro probably does turn up and train hard. Same with Anthony. But Rashford can't even get on the bench of a team that needs people on the bench. And what Amorim is saying is the reason he's not on the bench is because it's the same reason it's been for weeks. He's not training properly the way a footballer should do, and it's every day, every detail. And if he did that, then maybe he would be involved. And he said if things change, then he could be involved. He even said this: you can see on the bench we do miss a bit of pace on the bench. We don't just miss pace on the bench; we miss attackers. The only attacker we had on the bench yesterday was Xerxes. There's nobody else. So he said, we miss a bit of pace on the bench, but I'd put Manchester United goalkeeping coach Georges Vital before a player who doesn't give the maximum every day. I mean, oh my God. he sort of said it anyway, and then he made sure that everybody knew it. He said, I'm not using him because he's not working hard in training. And then he backed it up with, I'd rather use a 63-year-old goalkeeping coach than use basically Marcus Rashford. And if anybody thinks that's up for interpretation, he was being asked about why Marcus Rashford's not involved. And he said it's about attention to detail in training. It's about trying hard in training. And I would rather use a goalkeeping coach who's in his 60s over that person. So there's no messing about here. This is nuclear. And the funny thing is that in the past, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has said things like, Marcus Rashford needs to focus on his football and not his off-field activities. And in the very next press conference, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer apologised. That's the power of player power at Manchester United, is that if a manager says anything that a player doesn't like, they end up apologising publicly. We've now got a manager publicly saying they'd rather use a 60-year-old than use Marcus Rashford. Now, in previous times, if that was Ole, he'd be apologising now, doing a statement. There ain't going to be an apology from Amorim because the power shift has changed. And we talk about, the bad things going on at United, and there is a lot of bad things, but I think in this coach, we actually have somebody that is doing what needs to be done. And I don't know what Rashford's team are thinking at the moment, because they've done a very good job at protecting him and, promoting him and, preserving his brand. Even if you think about Belfast last year, he didn't really come out of that bad. There was no apology publicly, was there? He was back playing within a week. It's funny because going out on the piss and missing training in Belfast didn't do him any damage really compared to what Amorim's just done to him there. And actually, he's doing extra training sessions apparently. So he's absolutely destroyed his reputation. That's my interpretation. He's absolutely destroyed his reputation. The question is why? Because I think Amorim does things for a purpose. I actually think Amorim's done it because he knows there's a very big chance that Marcus Rashford's not leaving in the January transfer market, which is what he wants to do. Amorim wants him out. Rashford wants to go. But I think Amorim has realised he's not going to get rid of him. So therefore, he's like, well, it doesn't really matter what I say because I'm not devaluing a player that nobody wants. So basically, I'll give him a public kicking up the arse until he starts trying. And if he starts trying, I might get something out of him. At the end of the day, what it is if you've got something that nobody wants and you want to replace it, but you can't replace it, you may as well try and get what you can out of it than ignore it. And I think what he's done with Rashford, he's said, like, right, I'm going to humiliate him. I'm going to destroy him publicly. I'm going to tell everybody the problem, that he's not working hard enough in training. He's not, I'm going to damage what hurts him, his reputation. I'm going to damage his brand, and hopefully he will react, and then I win because I get a reaction and I can use him in the team. I don't think if he was going anywhere, Amorim would have done that, because what he has done is damage Rashford to Dortmund or Barcelona or anybody else. I don't think if you knew Rashford was going this week, you'd be saying stuff like he's been lazy in training. I'd rather play a 60-year-old. I think this is rock bottom for Rashford and Man United, and they can't part ways. So I think Amorim is basically saying, you know what, I'm going to have to use him, aren't I? And I don't want to use him. He's not working hard enough. So I think this is an indication that he's going to stay. I don't think it's an indication that he's going to go anywhere. The question is, can you repair that? It's a bit like a relationship, isn't it? When you've been out with somebody, you part ways, you see him a couple of years later in a club, you get back together. Can you really move past the deeper issues here? And nobody's ever done that to Rashford before. Nobody's ever done that to him in that sense, like publicly humiliate him and destroy him. So I don't know if we can find a way back. Maybe, or maybe another interpretation is Amorim's like, you know what? I want you to really dislike me so much that you piss off and you take a pay cut. I don't know. But what is really important is that this has been going on for 6 weeks. He dropped him against Man City in the Manchester derby. So for 6 weeks, Garnacho got dropped. Garnacho's got back in the team and Chelsea want to buy him. Rashford got dropped. He's never got back. I think he was on the bench once. So what Amorim is saying is that this player that we pay 300 grand a week for can't be asked to train properly. can't be asked to win his place back over 6 weeks. It's shocking. It's shocking. Fans should be angry. If you believe Amorim, you should be angry that we're paying a player this amount of money and he can't be bothered in training. Because that's what Amorim's saying, isn't it? I mean, there's no other way of dressing it up. So how this resolves itself is going to be really interesting, because I think in the past, Rashford's team could, pull in a few favours in the media and paint a more positive picture. But and also I think maybe that's why Amorim said what he said as well, because we have had a couple of weeks ago where United were putting something out and then Rashford's team were putting something out, and it was a bit of a war PR-wise. We can't really come back from that. And I think it's going to make for a very interesting week. I mean, Rashford put the post out saying well done to the lads. I mean, that's probably about the minimum he can do at the moment. But I mean, look, I was talking in our group chat about it last night, and we were sort of, debating it. And I said, look, I don't disagree with anybody who comes out and says that was really harsh from Amorim. It's just whether you think it's right. It was as far as you can go, I think. I was quite surprised. I thought it was from when I read it on Twitter, I thought it was a parody. The 63-year-old, I'd rather play a 63-year-old goalkeeping coach. But when you think about it, sometimes the hardest message is the best message, and there is no room for, the press love a bit of a grey area. There's no grey area. He's calling the player out. He's saying he's not working hard in training, and he's saying he's a waste of space, basically, at the moment. And that is so damaging to Rashford. So the response on or off the pitch is going to be very interesting this week. It's like those fans having a pop at Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Some people are saying it's disgusting that they're swearing at Sir Jim Ratcliffe, but what's the real message? The real message is Man United fans are not happy with Sir Jim Ratcliffe and see him as a glazer. Sir Jim Ratcliffe will be under no illusions this morning that his reputation isn't just a few angry minority fans, it's the majority now, and he is not liked. How will he react to that? Marcus Rashford this morning will be very much under the opinion that, the Manchester United manager that most Man United fans like have just completely and utterly destroyed his reputation to the world. How do you react to that? The bigger message is, I think it's the death of Player FC, which I think he's been hinting at for a long time, Amorim. He doesn't want this Player FC culture at Man United, and I think he has destroyed it. For now, I think it's absolutely been destroyed. Walnut Sablob says, no way back for Rashford after that press statement. Robert McCormack said, he said we miss pace and power. He wants him to react, says Robert McCormack. Well, mate, I think he's wanted him to react from the very first day he took the job. I mean, I know you like Marcus Rashford, but pray tell us, how are you going to justify your picture on your wall not putting effort in for 6 weeks? So I, for the first time, am coming back to you, Robert, and saying, yes, he does want pace and power, and that is Rashford in his prime 18 months ago. But why is Marcus Rashford not asked in a Man United shirt on a training ground for 6 weeks? And that's not my opinion. That's from the manager. Amorim's comments make me feel that he's fed up of not just Rashford, but the constant media questions about him. Also feels like he's sending a message to the owners as well. We've needed to hear, that's from Patrick Lynch, we've needed to hear these harsh truths from our managers for years now. Great to hear. Put the ball in Rashford's court, says Jack. Amorim is a breath of fresh air, says Rob, always United. Inu has just gifted 20 memberships, by the way. Absolute legend. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, get your comments in. He called, maybe Rashford has a problem and it's affecting his whole life, not just football, says Martin Dempsey. Mate, I would never do it because rumours can damage people, but you probably see them yourself in chat groups and stuff like that. The amount of stuff that goes on about Rashford. Rashford's this, Rashford's got this problem, Rashford's this, Rashford's got that, they're not true. This is what happens, people make up all sorts of rumours. Maybe there is an underlying issue with Marcus Rashford, but the reality is Man United need to resolve this issue, and the manager is just trying to build a football team, and we're not a charity. We don't have to play Marcus Rashford, and if he's not putting it in because the manager says he's not putting it in, it really is that simple. But what we do need to stop is the circus. It's a circus. Every single interview is asked about Rashford. So, it does need to get resolved. Lucius says, I attend most Chelsea away games and can say Nkunku isn't worth signing on loan or buy. Too weak, can't hold the ball up and goes missing. We'll talk about Nkunku, actually, because this has come in from Laurie Whitwell this morning. Man United are weighing up the prospect of going for Nkunku, who might be available on loan from Chelsea. In my opinion, this is an absolutely dreadful bit of business from Man United. Obviously, overarching all of this is the continued story that Garnacho could well leave Manchester United this week. There are numerous stories going around, and I suppose the best summary is that Manchester United cannot do anything in the January transfer market unless they sell Garnacho. The reason it's Garnacho is because nobody wants anybody else, whether it be Casemiro, Marcus Rashford, Dalot. Nobody's putting any money on the table. The only move on the table is the Garnacho move. Now, what we're hearing, I think Sky reported it this morning, is that if Chelsea put an official bid in for Man United's valuation of Garnacho, which is 60 million, which is cheap, then they will do the deal. But it keeps saying Man United don't want to sell Garnacho, but if somebody offers the money, they will. That doesn't matter. Can we just call this out again? This is crap communication from a club that doesn't know its arse from its elbow. You cannot say you don't want to sell a player, but if you get the offer, then you will do it. This is incredible, in my opinion, just how naive some people actually are. We did not... We did not. There's an update on Garnacho I've got to give you, but you can't put it out there that you don't want to sell him, but then if Chelsea meet your undervalue value, you will sell him. If you don't want to sell him, you won't sell him, and you certainly won't sell him undervalue. So the situation is this, and look, this has come out from UTD Menace, who is very good around, certainly injuries and other bits as well. Word is that Amorim's position on Garnacho has moved. Garnacho's attitude, efforts in training and willingness to adapt to the system are the reasons Amorim would now like Garnacho to be part of the project. However, the player's head could have been turned by a potential move. So the situation is this with Garnacho. And it goes back to that video we did about PSR. Man United, because of how we're run, because of the debt, because Ineos won't put any more money in, we have no money. We could have money. There are ways to get money in the club. There are ways to do things, but we're not going to do it. So Man United's strategy under Ineos is that if we want to buy players now, the club's got to generate more money. And the only way it can generate money is to sell a player. And the only player that anybody's interested in is Garnacho at a cut price. So Ineos are basically saying to Amorim, if you want to buy a player in January, you need to sell a player. So Amorim has said, we'll get rid of Casemiro, get rid of Anthony, get rid of the shit I didn't bring into this club. And the club have gone, yeah, we can't get rid of the shit you didn't bring into the club. You're going to have to sell a player that you want, that you like, because that's all we can sell. So Amorim is like, you want me to sell a project player because you can't sell the players that aren't part of the project? Yeah. Well, welcome to Manchester. Okay, so Amorim's in this situation where if he wants to do any business, he has to sell Garnacho. And that's where Man United are this week. And that's why there is still a possibility that it will happen. Amorim doesn't want to sell Garnacho. He started him in his last 2 games. He rates him. He doesn't want to sell him. Garnacho doesn't want to go, but Ineos do want to do that deal if we want to get players in, and that's where we are. So it could still happen. The ultimatum to get to Amorim is basically, if you want to buy players, you need to sell Garnacho, which is incredible to me, because it's a bit like being working in a workshop, and you're building a go-kart, and you say, I need a steering wheel. And then someone says, if you want your steering wheel, you'll have to sell a wheel. And you're like, but if I sell a wheel, the go-kart won't work. Well, if you want the steering wheel, you need to get rid of one of the wheels. It doesn't make any sense. We should be building on top of what we have, not taking things away to bring other things in. And that's why Man United are in this situation at the moment. And that's why we're being linked to Nkunku. I think the whole situation is exhausting as it is frustrating. And we are being linked to Nkunku, and we are being linked to Nkunku in a very serious way. I think, unfortunately, some people just don't watch football anymore, and they probably play FIFA or EAFC, or think they're a hipster. Nkunku is not the player he was at Leipzig 3 years ago. Nkunku has been serially injured and serially poor. In fact, a Chelsea fan was telling me on Saturday, Nkunku hasn't actually been injured for that long. He hasn't been injured for a while. He just can't get in the team because he's shit. So it's not like he's... I know he was injured for a lot of the time, but apparently he hasn't been injured that much in the last few months. He just can't get in the team. He came on for half an hour against Man City at the weekend. I didn't even know he was on the fucking pitch. And United are looking at him and going, he's the solution. So if we go for Nkunku, we're actually making a risk on 2 levels. Risk 1, he's injury prone, another Mason Mount. Risk 2, we think we can turn him into a good player in a league that Chelsea can't. So I don't get this deal. I think it's a shit deal. I think it's the sort of deal that, Everton sell one of their star players and get Danny Ings on loan in return. We're definitely giving Chelsea the better player if we sell them Garnacho and get Nkunku on loan. It's a shit deal. But you know what? That probably encompasses what Ineos did when they did the deal with the Glazers. It's a shit deal. So basically, Ineos equals it's a shit deal. We shouldn't be surprised. Should we swap Garnacho for Nkunku? Only if you're a thick twat, Lion. I mean, fucking hell. I do worry about the intelligence of some people out there that just simply do not watch football. You think Nkunku is 24 and Leipzig. He's 27 and been shit for 3 years at Chelsea. Like, I don't know how to spell it out to you anymore. He's absolute shite, and he's injury prone. When buying a club, did Sir Jim not talk about getting rid of the debt, or are they happy with it like the Glazers? Because that ruins us every year, says Dazzo. They went into it eyes open, mate, didn't they? And look, I don't really intend, unless people want to bring it into the conversation, I don't really intend to talk any more about Sir Jim Radcliffe, the chants at the ground last night, and what was said to him after the ground, because we've done a video on it. As I said, in summary, I think it's fantastic that Sir Jim Radcliffe this morning knows how much Man United fans don't like him and what he's doing to the club. Because I think there's been an arrogance that he's almost sat there going, "Oh, at the end of the day, these things have got to be done," and fans are just gonna sit. I mean, maybe he just doesn't understand football. Maybe he thinks football fans are peasants who just follow whatever the owners do. But not at Man United, not at Liverpool, not at Arsenal. Fans won't put up with it. So I think they're under no illusions this morning that the honeymoon is over, and they're under huge pressure. And when our away fans are singing stuff like that, I think it's absolutely fantastic that they're expressing their dissatisfaction at how badly this football club is being run and some of the decisions that are being made. Rashford comparison was a bit harsh on the coach in his 60s, says Club 1878. Thank you very much to Dazzo. Yechi says, I was wrong. I put my hands up. After the City game, I thought Rashford and Garnacho are flowers from the same garden, but Amorim towards Rashford is something else, and Garnacho has changed. Nkunku reminds me of Martial, mainly injuries, says the 2 Pump. And Junkyard Games, welcome to the Junkyard James, welcome to the Members Club. There will be proper uproar if the lad is sold, says Enjoy Writing. And Jacob R says, I've been watching this channel since I was 13 and I'm now joining the military at 19. Thanks for being a daily part of my life. Jacob, that makes me feel old, but all the best in what you're doing, and thanks for being a member of the channel. I've got a sneaky suspicion that we ain't selling Garnacho and we're still going to sign Dorgu or Fernandez, says Trey Warren. In relation to Dorgu, I don't know how we do that deal if we don't sell a player, because that Dorgu deal is massively, massively overpriced. And the latest on Dorgu, which has come in from Fabrizio, is that Man United are still very much looking to do a deal with Lecce for Dorgu, and they're going to approach them again this week. Add-ons will be a key part of the final proposal to get closer to the request of Lecce's £34 million. Well, what did I say? Ineos equals it's a shit deal. This is a shit deal. It's really bad. I know a lot of people watched Dorgu play yesterday, and I think it's sometimes unfair to assess a player on one game, but there's no way he's a £34 million left back. There's just no way in a million years. And therefore, those people who think we're going to keep Garnacho and get Dorgu, where the hell are we finding £30 million from? I don't think that's in the plan. I think the plan is sell Garnacho undervalue and overpay on Dorgu. I think that's the plan. I think you get what you can for Garnacho and you use it towards Dorgu. So we sell Garnacho undervalue and then we overpay for Dorgu. That's pretty much what they're planning on doing. But there's absolutely I don't know. Look, I understand it might be Favel, it might be Wilcox, and they're absolutely spot on to say this Dorgu is a good player. But then they don't negotiate. Whoever's negotiating this deal is an absolute prat. We shouldn't be going anywhere near 30 million, let alone 34. It should be 15 million plus 5. There should be a plus 5 to take it up to 20. We shouldn't be going up to 34. So, yeah, it's a shit deal in relation to the value we're going to pay for him. But what do you expect? You know, people are moaning about multiple things about how the club's being run, and then you expect them to be able to do good transfer deals. Of course they can't. They're absolutely clueless, and they have been for years. Mark says, fuck Glinios, fuck Neville, fuck Rashford. Qatar save us from this nightmare. Okay, I wonder why Chelsea are in a top 4 race are willing to loan a player to United who was close to being in a relegation battle because he isn't very good, says Jackie Boy. And Mario says, watching that interview, he's fed up with it. Fed up with the question. He's being strong to his word and giving them hard truths. He said what needs to happen. It's up to Rashford now, says Mario. I agree. They get paid millions to not have problems, says Keel Robinson. And John said, I wonder how long Amorim will last. To be honest, yes, we love the honesty, but I bet the owners don't. He looks like he's aged 10 years. He needs backing. You know, he's only 40. Happy birthday to Amorim, by the way. He's only 40. He's 40 today. But, you know, you age by 10 years when you take a Man United job. And Robert McCormack says, I agree with you, but he would play if he was on. I don't know what you mean. I think what you're saying is if Rashford was playing to his best, he would be involved, yes. But whose fault's that? It's him. Can't make excuses for him, mate. Listen to the manager. Garnacho to Chelsea feels like Gordon to Newcastle. Player wants to stay, club doesn't. Can't they do Malacia on loan to Lecce for Dorgu? Says Sean. I don't think Lecce are that stupid. Well done last night. You made a terrible game interesting, says Andy Atherton. Rashford let Ten Hag down, Ollie down, Jose, and now Ruben have all called him out. It's the end, says Andy Atherton. Casemiro to Al Nassr. They have space for foreign player now, says Joel. I hope so. I mean, if we could move Casemiro off, that might open up some money for Dorgu. I think that was always the plan, but whether we can do that or not, I don't know. Constantine says, hi Mark, with the club spiraling downward more and more every year, why haven't legends of the club like Beckham, Rooney, Neville, Scholes, Giggs done more to display their dislike for what's happening? Don't know. I don't know them, mate. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I know everyone hates how we're selling. Oh, sorry, DS. Sorry, I went quite there. DS says, I know everyone hates how we're selling young players, but if that's what we have to do, then we should do it. So Jim, know what's right. Yeah, you're an idiot. Sorry, you're a clown. People are right. You're an absolute clown, mate. Jog on. You're a troll. I would take weekend getaway. I will take TEOR. We do not buy anyone and wait till the summer than selling Garnacho. It's not like we will be in the top 4. We just need to win Europa, says weekend's getaway. Yeah, okay. So, look, summary of where we are. We've had another super chat from Sins. He says, Mark, I still cannot fathom why Sir Jim would buy the club only to milk it to the ground. So all that declaration for the love of the club is a lie then. Look, I think that perception's everything. Does Sir Jim Ratcliffe strike you as somebody who is a Man United fan who understands what the football club is all about? He says he's a lifelong Man United fan. He doesn't come across as anybody that actually knows anything about football. And he certainly doesn't. I mean, I know loads of Man United fans, and there is a running theme about, I know Chelsea fans, I know Arsenal fans, I know Liverpool fans. None of them would run their club the way Sir Jim has done it. He doesn't portray the characteristics of a typical Manchester United fan. The things he's done, a Man United fan wouldn't do. He's making business decisions. So realistically, the whole he's a lifelong Man United fan is irrelevant because what he's doing is ruthless business decisions. So I don't see him as a United fan. I see him as a Glazer because everything he's doing is just very much what the Glazers would do. Increasing ticket prices, cutting funds to charities, selling off assets, you know, it goes on and on and on. And that's quite right that fans are calling it out because the perception is everything. You can't just say you're a lifelong Man United fan and then do things that the Glazers would do. You'd expect that. You'd expect a lot better, and we're not getting it. So I think that, you know, United fans are 100% right calling it out, and it's a confusing time, you know, what's happening. I think the Man United Supporters Trust have done an open letter to the club as well. Look, on Garnacho, Amorim said, will he leave? Nobody knows. Anything can happen. I don't know what's going to happen. That is quite clearly a manager who is saying, I'm not in control of what happens in that situation. Because if he was in control of that situation, I think it's very, very obvious that he's he wants to use him because he keeps playing him. So what happens this week in relation to transfers? We have one week left. It's a week today that the transfer window closes. Obviously, United have got a couple of games, FCSB, which is a big game on Thursday, and then Crystal Palace. And look, I think that last night's game would be a cure for insomnia. It was boring. How we got through that watch along, we can only we deserve a bravery award. It was really difficult, but it was boring. The performance was poor, and the result was good. But I don't really think that anything is massively going to change, because it's trying to polish a turd. I mean, I was trying to think of something different. It's trying to polish a turd, isn't it? We're trying to polish a turd. Like, we're trying to get something out of players. And Amorim said it last night. This is not the style of football I want to play. We will play my style of football in the future, but this is not the style I want to play. So anybody who thinks that that's Amorim ball or a 3-4-3 or whatever you think it is, it's not. And it's very obvious that we're trying not to lose. That was a back five yesterday. What team in the Premier League plays a defensive back five? Not many. You might be able to give me one or two, but I can't think of any that play a defensive back five. And that's what we did. That's not Amorim ball. And he said it after the game. This is not how I want to play. We will play how I want to play. The question is why? Always why? Why did Amorim say that about Rashford? Why are Man United trying to sell Garnacho? Why is Amorim not playing the way he did with Sporting? And the answer is quite simple. We're not playing the way he wants to play because he doesn't have the players to do it. So in 2 months' time, will we be playing like Sporting did 2 months ago under Amorim? No, because he won't have the players to make us play like that. You can't turn... What did he say about Harry Maguire? Harry Maguire works well in this team when we're playing deep. I mean, what he's basically saying is, if you're going to play a deep line with lots of defenders, Harry Maguire plays well. Well, we know that. You try and play Harry Maguire in a back three with two wingers high on the halfway line, he's going to struggle. So Is that an indication of, yeah, Maguire's doing really well, but in the system I want to play, he might struggle a little bit? We've got players that might be playing quite well for us at the moment that don't actually suit the Amorim system. We've got a lot of players that are playing badly at the moment that don't suit the system as well. There's a lot of work to be done on that team. It's like when people talk about Bruno or Onana. You're probably right to talk about them, but they're not problems that are in the top 10, are they? There are so many issues to resolve, and I think that DS says I'm a tyrant. You're a clown, mate. You're an absolute clown, and everybody agrees with me because you're a troll. You're trying to wind people up. You're not even a Man United fan, saying that Sir Jim Radcliffe knows what he's doing. Mate, chat shit, get banged. You're talking nonsense, and you know who you are, and you know you're not a United fan. You just think it's a laugh to come on here and try and wind United fans up. I've been doing it long enough. The chat's been watching long enough. We know people do super chats to try and wind us up. You're probably a bloody Arsenal fan or something. Jog on. Anyway, back to reality. I think that the project in front of Amorim is huge, and I still think that, yeah, mainstream, ex-players, some United fans do think that there might just be a change of direction any minute now. And there won't be a change of direction any minute now. Bruno Fernandes is a massive problem in that team. Absolutely a massive problem in that team. You saw his performance yesterday. He's hot and cold. But he ain't a problem for the next 12 months because you've got to solve a load of other problems first. So this is a huge, huge problem. And I don't see it changing anytime soon until, I genuinely think it could take 3-4 years to get this team playing the way you want. You definitely need at least 3 really good wide players that can play this system. Definitely need another 10, maybe 2, who can play behind the striker. Definitely need a striker. Definitely need another midfielder. Probably need another couple of centre-backs. Probably need another goalkeeper. How many players have just 8 or 9 players under this regime who bring a new manager in and can't even give him anything in the first transfer window? So the rate in which we buy players, it could take 4 or 5 years. And remember, you might have to sell players that are good enough to, the hypocrisy of this is incredible. If you want to buy players, you need to sell players that are good enough. Why? Because we can't sell the players you don't want. So what people won't answer is, if we're selling Garnacho, who's a player, a part of our future, to bring money in so that we can buy players for the future, we're basically robbing Peter to pay Paul. We don't move anywhere. You're part of the future. Let's sell you to bring you, who's part of the future. Oh, we're back where we were. But the bigger question is, what is actually going to happen with Casemiro then? What's going to happen with Rashford? What happens with these players that need to be sold that you can't get rid of? Are they staying? How long are they staying for? Are we going to try and make these people part of the plan? It's a weird scenario. The club is on its knees. It's on its arse. It's a mess. It's a waste of time. And as I said, with regards to the PSR, the debt's not going anywhere. So we're still going to be paying debt interest every year for PSR, which is going to restrict how much we can spend, which will make us sell more players. Malacia was a good deal. He was 15 million. Now we can't sell him for even 5. Dorgu is not a good deal for 40. Face facts, says Ahmed. Andy Atherton has gifted a membership. Thank you very much. If Jim wants the fans on board, then buy 100% of the club and clear the debt. Otherwise, get out, says Andy Atherton. Glazers are the body, Ineos is the face, and it's all ugly. We are asking as fans, please, make Man United great again, says Captain T1. Marlow FC says Ten Hag reverted to counter-attacking and a solid defence after 2 matches. Amorim has been forced to do the same. The overarching problems for years is team effort. We defend as a team, but we don't attack as a team. James Cave, morning Mark. I think our summer deals will also be similar to Dorgu, gambling on big raw potential and Amorim's ability to increase its value. Thank you very much, James, there. Patrick Lynch says Amorim's situation with transfers is very different to that of Ten Hag. He is head coach, not the manager. He has no veto. Incomings and outgoings are all on the board. Selling Garnacho will be on them. And hi Mark, Ozerman here. Do you remember when Benny McCarthy said that this player doesn't like to change or adapt to instructions? Says Ian. And I was talking to my friend and he thinks Amorim is either walking for his severance pay or for the owners to get their act together, says Jackie Boy. Lee Berman's just gifted a membership. Thank you very much. Just going back on that point, I quite liked this point. I don't know what everyone else's thought is. Marlowe saying we defend as a team, but we don't attack as a team. It's easier to defend as a team than it is to attack as a team, because attacking is difficult. You've got to move the ball in a creative way against the system that might be as good as you are defensively. So we do defend better than we attack. It's interesting because I saw a ridiculous, and it might be, let's be honest, this could be misinterpreted, but I'll just read you the quote and then we'll sort of break it down. So this was in The Athletic. Rasmus Højlund has had 12 shots in the Premier League this season, while Bruno Fernandes has had 62. Rasmus has failed to shoot for the seventh time in 13 Premier League starts. Højlund's 12 shots this season is the same as Wan-Bissaka, Nathan Collins, Joe Aribo and Mavropanos, who are all defenders. Højlund has touched the ball in the opposition box 33 times in the league this season, compared to 113 for Ahmad. That is basically a hit piece on Rasmus, right? And we can all do that. He is really bad at the moment, and some people take it too far into the abuse angle because that's what people are like. And some people like myself are just very honest. He's just playing really badly at the moment. But I will jump in on this because it's exactly what Marlowe's saying there. We defend better than we attack. Where are Xerxes' stats? They won't be any better. And putting it on the striker that he's had 12 shots in the Premier League and Bruno's had 62. I mean, are we blind here? What is Rasmus or Xerxes supposed to do? Run to the halfway line and shoot? Like, a striker is at the very end of the team. The ball's got to go to them for them to be able to shoot. They get a lot of the ball on the halfway line where they're battling with centre-backs to hold the ball up, and Xerxes is better at it than Rasmus. But I don't see... Xerxes didn't have a shot in half an hour yesterday. What is it The Athletic are trying to say? That we're now judging strikers on how many shots they have, but it's their responsibility. I mean, my whole life around football and what it's all about is that a striker needs service. When I watch Erling Haaland get shut down, it's not because he's not the best striker in the world, it's because he's not getting service. Because the striker spends a lot of time on the edge of the box waiting for service. And if you don't give them a service, they won't have a shot. Whereas someone like Bruno can find space 30 yards out and have a shot. He'll get more space to have a shot. You can't judge our striker on shots when everybody who's got a bloody brain, whether they're playing in a pub team or a five-a-side team, knows that the job of the team is to provide shots for the striker. The striker can't just create shots themselves. They can't create touches in the box themselves. They are marked by two centre-backs. Bruno can find space. Ahmad can find space. Garnacho can find space. Xerxes, Rasmus, Cavani before him, they are occupied by two centre-backs. They can't go finding space to have shots from 30 yards. They have to be provided with service. So I don't think we need to blur the lines here. When people are saying Rasmus has only had 12 shots, that is an absolute shit show on behalf of Man United's creativity. And where are Xerxes' stats? Because Xerxes is playing well, but he's still not getting any service. In 2 games, Xerxes had 1 shot. Let's go back to the video I did a week ago. In the last 7 years, our striker, whether it's Cavani or Weghorst, averages less than 2 shots per game. At the moment, I think it's less than 1 shot per game. Our ability to create chances is shit. We've had 2 shots on target in 2 games. One of them's a penalty and one of them's a deflection. How many of these shots from Bruno are on target? I mean, he takes a free kick yesterday, has the genius that the wall might jump, so shoots under the wall, but not on target from the edge of the box. So, yeah, we can all shoot, but the lack of service into the striker is a problem. And if we play Xerxes every single week and we sell Rasmus, he's still going to struggle to get chances. If we sign Gyökeres, he's still going to struggle to find chances. And people talk about hold-up play like there's some sort of fucking football manager wizard. Hold-up play is important in retaining possession, but where are the overlapping fullbacks? Where are the crosses into the box? Where is the quick movement from back to front to playing a striker behind the defence? Like, none of this is happening. Xerxes holds the ball up well. How many chances is he getting? So, yeah, we've got a massive problem with Rasmus at the moment. Yes, we need to sign a striker. But I think Xerxes done well and still doesn't get any service. So, I don't know what the Athletic are talking about. I don't know what some of our fans... I mean, there are literally fans in the United fan base who think if we buy Gyökeres, we'll win the league and everything's fine. And I'm like, do people actually watch football and understand it? Just because you've got Erling Haaland up front doesn't mean they're going to score you a hat-trick every single game. You have to service the striker. And I was very critical of Bruno Fernandes last night because he gets away with a lot, because he does good interviews and he's the captain of the team, and without him we're worse. But he is the creative hub of that team, and he has been the creative hub of that team for years, and we don't create chances for our striker for years. So this needs to change. This needs to change. We were very lucky to win yesterday with a deflected goal. We don't create enough chances. We do defend well, like Marlowe says, but how are we going to attack better? How are we going to attack better in our current system? And that is a problem that has to be solved because we're boring to watch. We're not entertaining to watch. We don't create many chances. How are we going to change that? And I think what Amorim is trying to do at the moment is he's trying to just not get beat with a strong defence. But if we want to win the Europa League, which is going to be tough, but I think we can do it, then we need to find a way to play better football. DJ John says, I love Amorim's brutal honesty. You and me both, Pral. For your attention, Nkunku has had 13 shots in the Premier League season this season and played 19 times, says Lucius. Nkunku's not a striker. I know he played as a striker for Leipzig, but he's not a striker, is he? Look, you can put Rasmus Stand in the chat all you like. You can listen to morons on Twitter who are just very jealous of the United Stand and what we've built as a community. But at no point in the last 2 weeks have I ever said Rasmus is playing well, Rasmus should be starting. I've consistently said he's playing really badly. So we can have a conversation about the lack of service into Xerxes, or we can be childish and listen to morons on Twitter who are jealous of the United Stand. That interview was a year ago. I haven't done an interview with Rasmus since. I haven't spoken to Rasmus since. I haven't done anything with any United player in 12 months. So that interview was something we worked on for this community that we thought would be nice for this community. I wish I'd never bloody done it. I wish I'd never done it. I wish I'd never done it because all it does is cause the inability to talk about what the problem is with our striker, because we have unfortunately got morons in our fan base who think that Rasmus Højlund is responsible for Manchester United's problems and that if we pick Xerxes, everything will be fine. And it doesn't change anything. Xerxes had no service at all in the last 3 or 4 games, and the next striker won't have any service in the next 3 or 4 games. And just for clarity, Rasmus is playing absolutely shit at the moment and has been playing shit for 3 weeks. So there's your Rasmus Stand. There's your mate. He's playing shit and he doesn't deserve to be in the team. And I'm sure he'd admit that himself. So we can have a conversation about what we're trying to have a conversation about is why Man United are such a bad team, or we can play on Cartoon Network and be childish and start talking about shit that other morons talk about because they've got no football knowledge. Like, we're here to talk about Manchester United. We do serious conversations about PSR. We do serious conversations about fans, you know, expressing their dissatisfaction at Sir Jim Radcliffe. We do serious conversations about this club trying to sell young talent, which it shouldn't do, to bring money into the club, that they could bring money into the club. And as I said yesterday, I find it a complete waste of time to keep going round and round. I mean, people say Asmus, the Rasmus Stand. I mean, it just ruins the conversation that we're trying to have. And you actually facilitate the Glazers by doing it, because you pick on a certain topic, you won't leave it alone, you have a complete and utter blindness to anything else, you have a complete and utter agenda on it, you think if that changes, everything will be fine. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's Glazer bots putting it into the chat, because the Glazers have got an amazing ability to distract when things are going bad. And I've seen a lot of it. I've seen it with Rashford. I've seen it with other players as well. Marcus Rashford is not responsible for where Man United are. He might need to go, but he's not responsible. Neither's Rasmus Højlund. Neither's Bruno Fernandes. The problems at Man United go far higher and far more consistently over many, many years. And it's a shame we can't have proper conversations about it because it gets dragged down by something. What is it you want to talk about Rasmus? Should we just have it now? Rasmus is playing shit. Do your little nicknames. Do your little agenda. There you go. Can we move on to something else now? Right, let's go back to what I was talking about then. We don't attack well. We were boring yesterday. We don't attack well. We don't move the ball quick enough. We don't pass the ball quick enough. We hit too many long balls. We don't create chances. That is not the responsibility of Erling Haaland or Rasmus Højlund or Joshua Zirkzee or Edison Cavani or any fucking striker in the world. It is not their responsibility to provide service for themselves. So the question is, if we've got any semblance of, IQ in the chat, how do we solve the problem of not being able to create chances for our striker in the last 7 years? And I think we solve that by bringing in better players. And I think if Ruben Amorim was in charge of Bournemouth, he'd be creating 10 to 15 shots on target per game. But at Man United, he's going to struggle to do one because the team is incapable of playing football collectively. It's moments, it's turgid, it's slow, it's unimaginative, and it's predictable. And that starts from the goalkeeper all the way up to the striker. The whole team collectively doesn't interact well, isn't threatening, and is really, really, really predictable and slow. And that needs to change. I mean, look, Chunky says there's too many heroes. I think there are players with a hero mentality in that team. They want to score the goal. They want to over-egg the pudding. They want to take the extra touch. As I've said it before, it's almost like they need to spend a week playing two-touch in training. And I know that sounds really basic and we all did it at under 10s, but it's almost like if I was Amorim for the next week, I'd say no shooting, no open play. We're just going to do two-touch football every training session all the way until we play FCSB. And in that game, I want you to do it as well. Oh, this is a bit basic. No, I'm the manager. Two-touched football all week, and then against FCSB, I want to see that on the pitch as well, because I'm fucking tired of how slow you are on the ball, how many touches you take on the ball, and how little creativity we have. And let's just see what happens. Is there any talks of why Lindelof is still here, says John? Contract up in the summer, he'll leave in the summer. Bruno is the least of our worries right now. I agree. You can't not pick Bruno. He was bad yesterday, but you can't not pick Bruno because we're worse without him. It's not a conversation other than he didn't play well. I love Amorim's brutal honesty, says DJ. Thank you very much for that. Rahul says, do you think Amorim's step-by-step plan is to teach United how to defend and make them hard to beat first and then teach them how to attack properly? Probably. It's what Arteta did at Arsenal. It might be painful to watch, but the question will be, how do you do it, really? How patient can I said it yesterday, it reminds me of Rangnick. The only difference is, I think Amorim has a contract and an ownership that wants to back him. There's no way he'd be able to do what he's doing to Rashford if they didn't back him. But it does remind me of Rangnick. Amorim speaks the same way as Rangnick. Amorim's had to abandon his very good style of football the same way as Rangnick. And the results were hard to watch the same way it was under Rangnick. The overarching feeling, though, is that Amorim's press conferences are better than the matches. And until he gets the players, it won't get any better. And I remember saying this about Rangnick. He hasn't got the players to play his system, so you need to give him the players. We sacked him. So I think that over the next few months, we're going to have more Bournemouths, we're going to have more Fulhams, we're going to have more bad performances, we're going to grind more results out. But realistically, if you had a football team that can't play the way you want to play, would you try and play the way you want to play, or would you go a little bit more defensive? And I think that's what he's doing, if I'm being honest. So, yeah, but the worrying thing is, the worrying thing is that this is his first transfer window. They haven't got any money for him. They want him to sell to buy. The summer comes along. I don't think it massively changes it. He needs... How much money do you think Amorim needs? It's a great question. How much money do you think Amorim needs? Because I think he needs $500 million to $1 billion. We don't have that. We're not likely to have that. So it's hard to see how it gets much better because we have no sellable assets apart from Garnacho, Mainu, maybe Collier. There's nobody that we can make any money from, and I don't want to sell any of them. And we don't have enough players to play his system. So financially, it doesn't make sense. You need a shitload of money and you can't raise it. So it's hard to see. And it's going to be very interesting to see how it works. If you didn't see the video about the Sir Jim stuff, that went up this morning. Check it out. Make sure you get your comments in as per usual. Sir Alex would be disgusted with our attack marks as enjoy writing. Are there any talks of what they've done the Lindelof one as well? Fantastic show this morning. Thank you everybody for watching. I'm feeling a bit tired this morning. I was up very early to do the podcast and I'm feeling a bit... I was watching the NFL as well. The bloody Chiefs. Anyway, take care. Stay safe. I'll speak to you all in a bit.